Hey everyone, and Mitch coming here for the Crash Course Studio. Welcome to the show. So, it is finally here. It's been a very long pre-spoiler season, it seems like, because of all of the leaks. What, you didn't hear about the leaks? Okay, well those happened. There's a lot of them. And apparently, nearly all of them seem to be real. I mean, not nearly all of them. We haven't gotten confirmation on all of them, but during the Wizards, initial look at these cards from Modern Horizons. Isn't this exciting that no one's seen these yet until now? I was just like, oh, okay. Yep, we've seen that one. We've seen that one. We've seen that one. Oh, okay, haven't seen that one. Seen that one, seen that one, seen that one, seen that one, seen that one. Haven't seen that one. So we've seen a lot of those. If you haven't seen the episodes on the cards, I'll show at the end of this episode. I'll put all the cards that were revealed essentially so far, at least that I saw so far on MTG Goldfish. Those are up at this point. I'll put them at the end of the episode so you can see which ones are now officially confirmed to be real. And if you've been waiting to pick up cards for a commander with that, great, do so. Regardless, there are some new cards to talk about, including some new spicy cards to talk about. Let's jump into those. And please let me know in the comments below if I'm wrong on this, but I don't believe Shadow of the Second Sun was spoiled. Actually, any of these cards that I'm talking about right now that I'm saying are spoilers, if they were actually leaked ahead of time, please let me know. And shame me for missing them, because I tried my best to stay on top of everything, but believe me, there was a lot to go through this off-season. Shadow of the Second Sun is an enchantment aura enchant player for 4 blue. I always find that kind of weird when it's like enchant player and it's an aura, but it's not a curse. I don't know. I always kind of find that weird. Do you find that weird? Anyways, begin of enchanted players post-combat main phase. There's an additional beginning phase after this phase, which of course includes the end step happens after the added untap, upkeep, and draw steps. Okay, so that makes sense. The end step happens after the added upkeep. Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's additional beginning phase. Yes, obviously. Okay, yeah, the end step would still happen. I don't know why that. Why does that need to be clarified? Wouldn't you just clarify like what the beginning phase is, which is untap, upkeep, draw? Do you need to clarify that there's an end step after that? I don't know. There's a rules reason why, I guess. But basically, getting an extra beginning phase is pretty massive. I will say that I just kind of like grabbed the images quickly and I read them quickly. So I'm trying to dig into these as well right now, except for the command I'll talk about here in a little bit. But that's quite powerful. I mean, I guess the reason this isn't technically a curse, right, is because you'd be putting it on yourself most of the time, almost all of the time. So you're not going to be like, ha ha ha, I cursed myself. I mean, maybe. Like, there are curses out there that you would curse yourself with in Magic. That being said, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Regardless, this seems very powerful. Again, getting an extra, untap, that's huge. Being able to utilize, well, again, like, after combat, game enchanted players post-combat main phase, so yeah, after combat, you are getting to untap your things, which, I mean, for creatures and stuff like that, it's like, okay, cool, basically like pseudo-vigilance in a way, so that's nice, which is nice. But also, like, if you have any creatures with tap abilities. But, of course, obviously, lands, mana rocks. Any of your mana sources typically are tapping for, your mana. And by getting them untapped, you get extra mana. You get, like, a second main phase full of mana, which is lovely. So, yeah, you get a giant mana boost with that. Upkeep, that's more specific for, like, if you have upkeep triggers, obviously. Like, oh, Becca Dex, rejoice, you get something else now, too. But yes, any kind of like upkeep triggers you want to use in videos, great, get extra of those. But also draw step. You get to draw an additional card each turn thanks to this. So this is a pretty huge enchantment aura. I mean, yeah. The downside with auras is that they can be more easily removed typically when it's, again, like on a permanent. If it's on a player, you need to remove the player or remove the aura, with a, destroy a target enchantment. I was going to say destroy target aura. Those are very specific. Those do exist. But yeah, more so destroy target enchantment. So it's a very, very good card. Definitely worthy of being a, well, mythic, rare. And also, yeah, I can see it seeing a good amount of play in big mana decks out there. Enchantress decks out there as well. Aura-specific decks out there. Ones that really care about having additional, phases. So, yeah, very, very cool. Again, the end step happens after added. Isn't that just implied that would happen? Maybe it isn't implied. I don't know. Anyways, moving on. We've got Mogg Mob, a 3/3 goblin for red. Sacrifice it, deals 3 damage as you choose among 1, 2, or 3 targets. It's pretty interesting. I can't remember the actual card that this is based off of. It's Mogg something. It's just like an individual one that you sacrifice this. It pings something for 1. So basically, you put 3 of them together, kind of like Llanowar Tribe in a way with Llanowar Elves. Will this see anywhere near as much play as Llanowar Tribe? I don't know. I don't think so. But, like, goblins are a popular tribe, indeed. And, yeah, I mean, being able to just have 3 damage divided as you choose is quite nice. Yeah, other than goblins and, you know, damage-specific decks, like, I guess Gyrson Star, whatever that one is. The one that's, Izzet. You know what I'm talking about. Keller? I don't know. What was the name of that one? I'm so off on that. Regardless, Gyrson. Why am I going with Gyrson? Ones that care about, like, specific amounts of damage. Again, like, that one cares about 1 damage. It deals an extra 2, so, like, you'd be dealing 9 total with that, I believe. Let me know in the comments how wrong I am on that. That would also consider this, too. Or, like, Death Touch could work really well with this, too. Take out 3 things. Moving on. Wormcoil Larva. Get it? Wormcoil Engine. It's a small baby Wormcoil. It's a 3/3 Phyrexian worm with Death Touch lifelink that costs 5 mana. Why 5? I see what you're doing here. When it dies, create a 1/2 black Phyrexian worm artifact creature token with Death Touch and a 2/1 black Phyrexian artifact creature token with lifelink. It's almost as if the power and toughness doesn't matter that much when something has Death Touch, so that's why this costs 5 instead of 3. Yeah, I mean, it's just basically half of a Wormcoil Engine, which is nice, but it's at 5 mana versus, I think Wormcoil's 6, right, isn't it? So it's not quite as good, but, you know, obviously it shows that, you know, Death Touch is just good being on something, regardless if it's a 3 power, 6 power, 1 power, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Yeah, I mean, in a token-based strategy, they could consider this, maybe a risk-rat strategy, although, again, when you're talking about typical risk-rats builds, you care more about just efficiency, like Weapon Craft Enthusiast. Costs 3, makes you 3 creatures in total. I mean, it makes 2 plus itself. This one, gets you 3 creatures eventually. I guess Teysa would care more about this, like the death trigger. So there you go. But typically, it's interesting to see whether, I think this is more of like a limited card, I would think. Maybe I'm wrong on this. I mean, again, it's still 3 bodies for 5 mana. You're getting 6 total power, technically, across those 3 bodies, you know, eventually. It's interesting, that's for sure. Moving on. Izzet Generatorium? Generatorium? Let me know in the comments below how wrong I'm on that. Artifact for Izzet colors. If you get energy, 1 or more energy, you get that many +1 instead. Okay, so it's like Hardened Scales, but for energy. Tap, draw a card, activate only if you've paid or lost 4 or more energy this turn. Interesting. Paid or lost? How do you lose energy? Let me know in the comments below. I'm probably missing something very obvious, but it's like, isn't most things paid? I'm just like, oh no, my energy, where did it go? Don't know. Yeah. I mean, for an energy-specific deck, amazing. For any deck that does not have energy, terrible. Obviously, keep in mind that this really makes Proliferate very good with energy, too. I mean, that it's already, you know, good energy. But being able to Proliferate once, you would get an energy counter, and you get a second one then, obviously, because that would double up. Yeah, pretty good. Anyways, moving on. Genku, Future Shaper, a 2/5 Moonfolk Wizard that costs 4 mana in Izzet. Whenever another non-token permanent you control leaves the battlefield, choose one that has been chosen this turn. Create a creature token with those characteristics. Either a 2/2 Fox with Vigilance, a 1/2 Blue Moonfolk with Flying, or a 1/1 Black Rat with Lifelink. You can pay 5 mana, but 3 in Izzet colors. Put a counter on each creature you control. Interesting. So it's kind of like, and again, it specifically says, and I'm glad it does, obviously, because it'd be way too easy to use and abuse. It says whenever another non-token. You can't just have a permanent be like, oh, I have 3 treasures. I sacrifice my treasures. Yeah. And it is limited to, again, one that hasn't been chosen this turn. That being said, obviously, a way to utilize this, I mean, you could use bounce effects, sure. You could use sacrifice effects, sure. But the best way to utilize this, which is the case for a lot of very popular Izzet decks, is Blink. Blink is going to be very good with this. So utilizing maybe some creatures or some, you know, permanents that have great ETBs, blinking those things, they leave, this triggers, they come back. Cool. You get your tokens. And again, it's limited to just basically 3 total tokens a turn. That being said, hey, you can utilize it on your opponent's turn, so keep that in mind. But also, if you reset this, basically by just blinking it itself, or, you know, bouncing it, replaying it, whatever, sacrificing it, replaying it, that's a lot of mana. But blinking it's the most effective way to do so, obviously. If this resets, then you're like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, that's a new permanent, technically. It's considered to be a new permanent, so it doesn't know that earlier, before, you know, it got blinked, that you made 3 tokens. So now you can make 3 new ones if you happen to do so. So that's a way to get around that too. Obviously, there's other ways to take advantage of the amount of tokens you can make with this. I mean, Making a 2/2 with vigilance, a 1/2 with flying, and a 1/1 with lifelink. All those are quite nice, but obviously not. None of them are all that strong. Obviously, like a 2/2, like is your biggest creature out of those. Like, whoa, 2/2. You got ways to pump them, and you're going to want to do so. Obviously, you have a way to just pump all your creatures with this. I mean, you can put a counter each creature control, so you can play into proliferate effects as well. That being said, 5 mana to put a counter each creature control is decently expensive. It's nice to have it there, but you're probably not going to want to count on that just by itself. Maybe activate once and proliferate a lot, yes, or have ways to make this cost less. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. But yeah, being able to pump, with anthems or other things as well, that's probably going to be a bit more impactful. So it's going to be more like a go-wide strategy that utilizes anthems as well, and like a blink synergy, I think. Maybe some proliferate thrown in there. You can do some pretty crazy things with this one. So with all that said, let's jump on to the quick take portion of this episode where I talk about the budget buys, cards that are within my budget, pricey picks, cards that are outside of my budget. But, yeah, cards that you can definitely consider to build around this commander because it is officially real for the first time, essentially, or one of the first times this entire season. We're at spoiler season now, and these are spoilers, not leaks, so I don't have to say, hey, make sure you, ask your playgroup if you can proxy it. It might not be real first. This is real. This is real. If you want to build around this, check out that decklist link. Gosh, I'm thrown off already. Card list link for the cards I'm talking about in the description below. Now, with all that said, let's jump into it. First up in the budget buys, we've got Shrieking Drake, a weird card, a very weird card. A 1/1 Drake with flying that costs a single blue mana, and it says when it enters the battlefield, bounce a creature controlled back to its owner's hand. Way back when, this was just, hey, okay, downside city. Because that's like, oh, okay, yeah, I get my 1/1 flyer out. Well, to do that, since it's a 1/1 flyer, I've got to bounce something else. My Raging Goblin, maybe, I don't know. But yes, this is a card now where you're like, oh, okay, can I use and abuse an ETB? Great. I will play this. It bounces itself. Back in my hand. I'll play it again. It bounces itself. This is essentially with this commander a pay 3 blue mana. Blue. Make 3 creature tokens. Yay. Or bounce your commander or bounce whatever else you need to bounce. So keep that in mind. That being said, again, bounce is not the most efficient way, in my opinion, to take advantage of this commander. Of course, that way is more so blink. And what comes in my blink other than Salt Skitter? It's a weird card. Okay, so this one's not like the most popular card out there, but it's an interesting interaction with this commander. A 3/4 worm for 4 mana. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield, remove it from the game, exile it, bring it back into player's owner's control at the end of the turn. This is a really janky, pretty terrible card for most decks out there, but for this commander, this is, hey, I get a free trigger off my commander, essentially. Because all you need to do is trigger your commander once, or have any creature enter the battlefield, and all of a sudden, oh, okay, cool, this leaves. And then your commander's like, oh, something left. Okay, all right, make a token. Yay. And then it comes back. And then next time it's like, oh, something left. It can keep going, and obviously can really help you out. Kind of double up on your effects, basically. Like, again, on opponent's turn, if you, cloud shift one of your creatures, your commander's like, oh, something left. And then Salt Skitter's like, oh my gosh, something just came into play. I'm out of here. And then it leaves too. So yeah, Salt Skitter can give you, additional free triggers throughout the game. Of course, when it comes to the blink spells, I just talked about Cloud Shift, just 1 mana blink something. Anyways, blink, I should say, is like exile, then it comes back. That's blink. Anyways, Ghostly Flicker. This can blink 2 things. So blinking 2 things, you essentially can say, oh, okay, cool. Whether I blink to artifacts, creatures, and or lands, combination of those, they come back, and my commander says, oh, you get 2 creature tokens because they left. Because those things left, you get 2 of them. Pick whatever ones you want. Moving on. Lazelle's Acrobatics. I never know how to say that name. Instant for 4 mana. Exile all non-token creatures you control, then roll a d20. 1 through 9 means bring those things back under control to begin next 10 step. 10 through 20 means, hey, bring them back to then bring them back again. Blink twice, essentially, okay? So essentially with this card, again, for 4 mana, you're like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I will blink all my things. My commander will say, cool, things are gone. I'll make tokens. Good for me. So 4 mana, make 3 tokens, and save your team from a situation potentially. Lovely. And also take advantage of every single one of your ETBs, which again, you're probably going to have a lot of creatures with ETBs, like, Mold Drifter type effects. You're like, oh, okay, cool. Whenever that happens, I draw cards. If you ever played against a Blink deck, they're really good at getting a lot of ETB value, so keep that in mind. Moving on. Semester's End. This one's more specific. Exile any number of target creatures and or planeswalkers you control. So you can choose any number. You don't have to pick certain ones. You keep certain ones in play if you want to. Regardless, another way to save your team if you need it, and also make a lot of tokens with your commander, while also getting a lot of ETBs. On top of that, though, if they're if they're planeswalkers, they get an extra loyalty counter on them when they come into play, and if they're creatures, they get an extra +1 counter, which again, like I mentioned earlier, your creatures are tiny. mostly. Your blink creatures might be tiny. The ones that you're trying to blink again and again and again. Cool. Let's get counters on them. Let's really work in some proliferate effects as well that we can really, like Thrumming Bird, that kind of stuff as well. We're going to proliferate a lot so we can take advantage of our counters and make our creatures big. Yorion Sky Nomad, a creature itself that can help us with mass blink. Unfortunately, can't be your companion because the rules committee sometimes doesn't like fun when it comes to these kind of things. Come on, why not? Let people break it for this, okay? Because your starting deck contains at least 20 cards more than the minimum deck size. You can't do that in Commander. Why? Regardless, hey, in the 99, this is a very good card. 4/5 flyer for 5 mana. When it enters the battlefield, exile any number of other non-land permanents you own and control. Return those cards to the battlefield to begin next end step. Again, basically, hey, get 3 triggers off your commander and whatever other ETBs you need. Every single time you blink this, you essentially are getting a mass blink as well, which is absolutely lovely. So keep that in mind. Again, you just have to like cloud shift this, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, cool. Get a mass blink, utilize whatever I need, and get a lot of value out of that. So definitely keep that in mind. And also keep it in mind that if you do want to play this as your companion, ask your play group first, because they might be okay with it. And if they are, great. Play with a 120 card deck. Yay. Anyways, moving on. Soul Herder, a 1/1 spirit for 3 mana. Whenever a creature is exiled from the battlefield, put a counter on Soul Herder. At the beginning of your end step, you may exile an entire creature you control, return the card to the battlefield under its control. First of all, this can become absolutely massive because, again, your plan is to get things in play that can be blinked or that you want to blink. Blink a lot of them. Make creature tokens your commander and get a lot of counters on this then too. Lovely. But also, again, a free blink effect at your end step. That is lovely. Again, if you haven't met that requirement of, not requirement really, but if you haven't gotten all the value out of your commander in a turn, let's say you blink 2 things or whatever, and you get 2 tokens from your commander, this is just a nice, like, little, like, oh, okay, cool, here's a free extra blink, and you also get another token. Good for you. Each and every single turn. Not that I would recommend building it this way, but you definitely can. Sacrifice Outlet, again, it is leave the battlefield trigger, which is very nice because that covers everything, essentially. That covers if a creature is bounced. That covers if a creature is exiled. It covers if a creature is sacrificed or hits the graveyard or dies or anything, essentially, right? Enchant for 3 mana. Sacrifice a creature to prevent all damage to a creature player from one source. Did you know there was a free sacrifice outlet in white? Nope, but maybe you did. I don't know. There is one. This and also, gosh, what's the other one? Fanatical Devotion. Old school, white enchantment cards are like, hey, sacrifice things. And then now there's like, no, no, mono white doesn't get free sacrifice outlets. Okay. Well, let's just ignore those cards and never reprint them. Anyways, this one still is budget friendly. I love this card. But yes, being able to potentially sacrifice a creature that maybe is on the way out already, like let's say an opponent is blocking it or whatnot, it's going to get taken out, or like they're removing it. You can just be like, oh, okay, cool. I want my token right now for whatever reason, so I can sacrifice that and also get value out of this to prevent damage. So there you go. And also with all the creature tokens that you're making, you can sacrifice those to prevent damage. Like if someone's swinging with a Blightsteel Colossus and you're like, huh, I don't like that. I'll sacrifice my little rat and I will prevent the damage from that. Thank you. Yeah, this card can be absolutely huge. Dictative Heliod. Just an example of one really good anthem. Enchantment for 5 mana with flash, creature control +2/+2. You have a lot of anthems. You are in white. You have anthems. I guess blue has a couple too, but not nearly as many as mono white. You've got a lot to utilize. Utilize them well. Utilize them effectively. You're going to be going really, 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 really wide with a lot of tiny creatures. Again, your biggest one is a 2/2 with the creature tokens. 2/2 vigilant creature. Then you've got like a 1/2 and then a 1/1. So you really want to pump them up quite a bit. Make them deadlier. Again, this makes your creatures, hit a lot harder. Twice as hard or 3 times as hard for your creatures. So yeah, add up some more anthems. You got a lot of them and utilize them very effectively with this kind of a commander. Moving on from, is this the original? This is the original Modern Horizons. Wizards reprinted, please. Ephemerate, such a good card. It's basically double Cloud Shift, essentially. Slightly different, because Cloud Shift is like, hey, blink a creature and bring it back into play under your control, which, sneaky. If you threaten a creature, you can actually just keep it permanently by Cloud Shifting it. That doesn't work with Ephemerate, because Ephemerate says owner's control, because Wizards doesn't like giving players the option sometimes to just steal things like that. But come on, you worked for it a little bit. I don't know. Anyways, instant for a single white mana, can basically blink a creature, and it rebounds to get to cast it again. So this 1 mana spell is basically, again, use and abuse an ETB. save something if you need to save something from, target removal or whatever. And then also, this is make 2 creature tokens with your commander, which is absolutely lovely. Eerie Interlude. I would also love for this to be reprinted more. Wizards, please. Instant for 3 mana. Exile any number of target creature control. Return those cards to battlefield. Unresolved control be the next end step. Basically, a more efficient Semester's End, but not as flexible. It doesn't do planeswalkers and doesn't give you also counters too. But still, with this kind of X purposes, yeah, all like the mass blink effects, especially the specific ones when it's like any number, those are really good. Speaking of which, Brago, King of Blinks, a 2/4 spirit with flying that costs 4 mana in Azorius. Whenever it deals counter damage to a player, exile any number of target non-land permanent you control. Then return those cards to the battlefield under zone's control. The King of Blinks for a reason. Just blink everything that you want to blink. Do it again and again and again. You're pretty much bound to hit, I mean, at least one opponent with this, obviously, since that's flying. But also, you're bound to hit the 3 triggers off your commander, and maybe even more again, because if you do blink your commander, then you're like, okay, let's reset my commander, and I keep going again with other things as well. Displacer Kitten, a card that will never, ever be budget-friendly, for me. 2/2 Cat Beast for 4 mana in blue. Avoidance, whenever you cast a non-creature spell, exile up to 1 target non-land permanent you control. Return that card to the battlefield, under someone's control. There are definitely some broken things you can do with this. Just at a base level of this commander, though, it's like, okay, did I cast a non-creature spell? Cool, I get a creature token. That's basically how this works now, because essentially every single one of your non-creature spells are additionally a blink effect, which again will trigger your commanders. Keep that in mind. It's a very, very good card and hard to deal with. Yeah, very good. Next up, Conjurer's Closet. Hey, do you like a free blink effect at your end step? You got one. Cool. Yeah, this, one of the fastest does it as well. Teleportation Circle as well, another one. We're getting a lot of these different effects that you can just get. Oh, I have like 4 of these effects in play. Cool. At my end step, wait, I'm not done yet. Blink you. Blink you. Blink you. Blink you. Extra value everywhere. Okay, now it's your turn. Yay. Oh, wait, I forgot one. Blink you. Yay. Okay. Conjurer's Closet, very, very good. Deadeye Navigator, broken card. This plus Peregrine Drake, Palinchron, a lot of things. Is broken. A 5/5 spirit for 6 mana. Soulbond. As long as it's paired with another creature each of those creatures has, pay 1 and a blue, blink this creature. Yeah, that's really good. That's very good. That's very broken. But even just at a base level with this commander, now it is, okay, again, whatever ETB, let's just say it's Muldrifter. Let's say a Muldrifter in play. Whatever ETB I have, I can pay 1 and a blue and get that ETB. But also I'm paying 1 and a blue and making a creature token of my selection of whatever my commander has too. So yeah, you get a lot of value out of that. Moving on, Nezzy! My very first commander deck tech on this channel. My very first episode on this channel was a deck tech on Nezzy. Nezhal Primal Tide. This would be in the 99 of the deck, though. A 7/7 Elder Dinosaur that has a lot of tech, so here we go! 7 mana. Can't be countered. No maximum hand size. Whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, draw a card, discard 3 cards, exile it, bring it back to the battlefield, and just control the next end step. I mistapped. Anyways. Essentially, this is a creature that can self-blink. Kind of like Salt Skitter, but that's like not whenever you want it to. It's just like, oh, it happens, which is great because it just keeps going and going and going. This is when it's like, okay, yeah, things are happening right now. Someone's trying to remove my Nezzy. How dare you? Thank you for the card because, you cast a non-creature spell to destroy this or whatever. Like, thank you for the card. I could draw that, but now I'll discard some cards. This will blink away. This will come back. Good luck ever dealing with Nezzy because it's really hard to deal with Nezzy. I love Nezzy. But also an absurd amount of card advantage throughout the game for you. But yes, again, a way to just have creatures. Again, if you have these creatures that keep, like, blinking themselves, like going away and coming back, that can be huge for this commander to ensure that you can keep getting more and more creature tokens in play. Speaking of more creature tokens, Annoying Procession. Yeah. A gross card. A gross, disgusting card that will never be budget-friendly. Whenever they make any of these effects, it's like, yeah, it's going to be expensive. If an effect create one or more tokens under control, create twice that many of those tokens instead. Keep in mind it does not specify creature tokens. It can be any kind of tokens, including treasures or clues or whatnot. But yes, creature tokens are doubled too, so hey, your commander is doubling up its effectiveness, doubling up its efficiency. There's some broken things that you can do with this, and Cathars Crusade. We talked about anthems earlier as well, and this one's like, hey, who needs anthems when you've got, like, all these counters I'm getting on your things? Enchantment for 5 mana. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under control, put a counter on each creature control. I do shorthand, ++1. Okay. Counter. Again, if you just make, let's say you make 3 creature tokens in a turn, and you're blinking those creatures to do so, do you know how many creatures are coming into play? Again, you blink, let's say you blink 1 creature, all right? You blink a creature. Okay, that's leaving, so that means you make a token. That means you get counters on everything. And then the creature that got blinked came back. Cool, more counters on everything. You blink another creature. Okay, that's leaving. making you a token, making more counters, coming back, one more time. Basically, just if you are being efficient and effective with your blinks, and you are blinking 3 things to make 3 tokens each turn, and those creatures are coming back, if they're creatures, I should say, what you're blinking. Hey, you are getting 6 counters on all your creatures, including a lot of counters on the ones you just had come into play. So your opponent's going to be in big trouble. So yeah, Cathar's Crusade is so good with this kind of a strategy. Training Grounds. Again, I talked about earlier how 5 mana, 3 in Azorius colors is not a very efficient, way to get counters on your creatures. It's not bad, and obviously the wider you go, the more efficient it is. If it's just like just your commander in play and you're like, hey, I've got 1 creature, I pay 5 mana to get 1 counter on my commander. Haha! Are there scenarios where you might do that? Maybe. I'm not going to say there aren't. Like, if you're like swinging at someone for the game, you're like, if only I had 1 more power for my commander. Wait! I pay 5. Yeah. The wider you go, the more efficient it is. That being said, Training Grounds, an incredibly good card. Enchantment for a single blue mana. Activate abilities of creatures you control cost 2 less to activate. Can't reduce less than 1 mana. That obviously doesn't matter for this commander. Essentially, this means, hey, instead of paying 5, you're paying 3. You're paying 1 in Azorius colors to activate your commander. That's much more efficient, and that is really, really good. When you're like, okay, I go to combat, I swing, and the opponent's like, how much mana they have? They got 9 mana open? How do I block this? Because, like, they could activate 3 times, and they might or they might not. I don't know. They've got this massive army that's going wide. They've got all these crazy things going on. I don't know. And then they quit. And they probably won't quit. But yes, this can make it much more efficient to activate your commander's ability, to make your creature stronger. Obviously works well with Proliferate as well. Getting that initial counter each of your creatures is very cheap then, just at 3 mana. Start using Proliferate effects very efficiently, very effectively. Hit your opponents for a lot. But now as this episode is coming to a close, as long as I remember to edit this properly at the end of this episode, right after I'm done talking right here, please, Mitch, remember to do that. I'm going to be putting all the cards that I found in MTG Goldfish when I started recording this episode that were already leaked, and I talked about them already, and now they're officially spoiled. There might be some, like, I know, like, on Ulalek, spoiler alert right here, okay, of course. On Ulalek, that one's, like, hard to read, so, like, with the initial leaks, so, like, I think the mana cost in that one is different. But, like, most of the cards are actually pretty much the exact same things that we said about in the leaks. Like, seems like all the leaks so far that I've seen have been officially confirmed so far. It hasn't been like, oh, wow, yeah, we got, like, the name right, but that rest of it is completely wrong. Like, someone just fabricated this entire thing. It's like, yeah, are there going to be a couple leaks maybe that, like, aren't completely real? Like, Colossal Eldrazi? Maybe. That's one that's standing out to me as one that's like, that's probably not real. But you never know. But yeah, there's a lot of cards that officially confirmed. If you want to see my takes on those cards, check out my leaks episodes, which, I mean, oh my goodness. It's been a weird ride with Modern Horizons 3. It's just been like, okay, miscellaneous spoilers to start a long time ago to get people hyped. And it was like, leak. And the Wizard's just like, huh, we recognize that the leaks are happening. Well, we heard from you, and you said that you don't like potato quality images, so we're going to send out some actual images of like 5 of the leaked things. And then we're going to not talk about the leaks again. And now we're at spoiler season. So yeah, here we are. Regardless, if you're interested in this command that I talked about this episode, now we get back on the rails. Hopefully, make sure you check out that decklist link in the description below. Decklist link. Card list link! Need to end this episode before I mess up further. Of course, as always, thanks again, and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.